And we are back, my friends. It's been a long time, Jets 55. I've been hidden. I've been so disappointed. Obviously we had these incredible expectations for the season. To me, that guy Rodgers wound up being like a disease, like a fungus. Well, let me say this. You know, we can all spend our time ripping Woody apart, but what do they say about a broken clock? It's still right twice a day. And as much as I was frustrated with what's happening in the season, and when Woody came in, I was so upset when Chris seemed to be in the background again when Woody came back from whatever the F he was. But you know, um, I like the choices that were made. I was a big fan of Douglas and Salah, but I will say this: we got to think about this. And I'm not saying I agree with Woody, but you know what? It was 4 years. And Douglas, the most important position, Joe Douglas, of quarterback, he effed it up.
Failed.
Zach Wilson was around way
He
too long.
failed. You're right. Yeah.
He failed. He did so many things right in the draft and everything else that I like, but he failed that. And the second really most important position to me, which is the kicker, he failed that. Who knows if I thought Zerline last year wasn't good. I thought this year coming back, he wasn't good in preseason. Leffert was knocking him out of the park. We lose the first out of the first 7 games, we lose three because of our kicker. Who knows? History would have changed. I've always been
You play
disgusted by the way.
differently when you have a better record. I believe you're right. It would have been better. They would have come with
Who
a
knows?
more aggressive,
Well,
positive
who
mindset.
knows?
You
Right?
know,
What would have happened? I was disgusted when Aaron Rodgers put. I think Salah's a great coach. I think he's a good guy. I think maybe he was a little too nice and forgiving. That bullshit with Aaron with those missing those two practices and then pushing him. He came out with a bullshit story. It was all bullshit. Pushing him in the sidelines, like you want to give him a hug, good
that was
play.
that was the worst. That was to me
I mean, what
wrong
are we
with you.
talking
You know,
about? And
yeah.
and Salah, you know what? As much as I like him sugarcoating it, and I think of this way, Campbell on Detroit came in about the same time, and look what happens. And when you mess up the quarterback situation, when you truly mess it up, when you have a first year quarterback that does not do well, when you replace him with a third string, a second string, and a third string quarterback, of course, he's not doing well. And he's your guy the next year. And then he's your guy when you get Rodgers to back up Rodgers, even though they say it was a reclamation project.
Ridiculous.
I have issues. But on the other side, I'm not wearing my Jets stuff right now. It's not going to be, I'm not, well, lying in
Not
front of a
waving the
tank,
you're not waving the flag. You got Joe
not
Burrow.
waving the
I get it,
flag.
but
I'm
they don't
not
deserve it.
like,
They don't deserve it.
I just,
They
I
don't.
just feel like I didn't want to wear it today for all our fans out there. But
Okay, I
it
wore
will
it.
be
I'm
back
ashamed.
on.
Yeah.
There you go. You're
Listen
looking
now.
good. But no, this last thing. I mean, Aaron Glenn. I like him. New GM, I like him. But let's be realistic, people. Unless you have a very good to excellent to elite quarterback on your team, none of it matters. None of
Yeah.
it matters. It's always the same. Yeah, Andy Reid's a great coach. Okay, you don't have Mahomes. Come on, man. We saw what happened with Belichick without Tom Brady. We saw what happened to Tomlin when Roethlisberger went away. We saw what happened with the culture of the Colts when Manning, he retired.
And
We
Seattle,
saw
when Russell Wilson went away, they make it
when
like
Russell
Geno Smith.
Wilson went
They didn't go
right.
anywhere. What did they do? He's
And
he's okay,
who are the
but
good teams? It's the same teams every year fighting Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen,
yeah.
Buffalo, Mahomes. It's always the same team.
Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, he's great.
Cincinnati with Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Tomlin does a great job with Pittsburgh, but he doesn't have that very good to excellent to elite quarterback.
No.
So my thing is, I'm looking at three things from what Aaron Rodgers and the new GM do. One, it's going to be quarterback. Second thing,
Quarterback.
going to
No.
be the
Third
offensive
thing,
coordinator.
quarterback.
Who's going to be the offensive coordinator? And then my third thing is what's with the kicker? I'm serious. These are my
Yeah.
three things: quarterback,
Well,
kicker, offensive coordinator. It looks like
listen,
Adam
you
Glenn is
plus
not going to take any bullshit from anybody. He's not taking it from the press. Not that they were hounding him, but every time they try to focus on Aaron Rodgers, he said, "Yeah, you can keep asking me, but you're
Yes,
gonna
you're
get
gonna
the
get a
same
different
answer."
answer. Now it's his first day. He did a good job, but listen, everything you said, I 100% agree with. The thing about Salah and Joe, right, Douglas, was that I think when they were left alone to do what they thought they wanted to do, you're right. The mistake was just really quarterback. But when he meddled with them, he made things so much worse that team would have been so much better if Woody stayed out. Like Joe Douglas wanted. I'm not a massive fan. I never really. I love Solid. Douglas was okay, but look, when he wanted to keep Huff, you had this young guy who fit into their system. He had a shitty year in Philadelphia, so it's a system thing too. So he was rocking and rolling and getting the job done. They He wanted to keep him. Woody wouldn't want to pay him. They let him go. They trade John Franklin Myers for a 6th round pick. Ridiculous, right? And then the other guy gets hurt, and then you're short. You don't have guys up front on defense, and the defense still hung in there for a while, but they lost what made them special, and they also lost on the other side of the ball. Um, they improved the offensive line. And in the beginning, Rodgers was struggling and it was bad. They weren't putting points up. But by the end of the year, he was humming a little bit better. But it's not good enough in the NFL. It's like you say, you've got to do it from the get-go. You have to have the right O-line. You've got to have all things in order. But JD, like you say, by not having that quarterback, okay, and with Woody sabotaging so many things, they had no chance to succeed. They didn't. And they didn't from day one. And I remember hearing Salah say, I talk to Woody every day, every fucking day. So every day he's like reporting to him like he's his boss, like he's in detention. So I don't think, do you really think Arthur Blank, or even Bell, Kraft asks his head coach to report to him every day? No, he's your job.
Well,
Go do the
let me let
job.
me let me say this. I will say this. I think the first. I think I'm pretty sure Woody first 3 years because it was really created by Chris Johnson having Douglas and having Salah and really starting with a foundation. And the first 3 years, I'm pretty sure Woody wasn't going crazy. I think obviously he lost his mind figuring, well, we got Rodgers now, and now we got the season with Rodgers, and I think he finally just couldn't take it. I'm not saying it's right; he couldn't take it anymore. But then even Salah, you got to show. You think like, listen, Aaron Glenn did it right. He showed total respect for Woody because he said, "I was there in the beginning when he was there in the beginning."
No,
He showed
he
total
wasn't even there
respect.
then. He was there before Woody.
But he was there when he came on. But what I'm
Yeah,
saying is, I don't think Aaron Glenn, no, we're not doing phone calls every day. You know what I'm saying? This is not happening. So, I look
right.
at these guys, Douglas and Salah. Maybe it was time for Salah to be a little bit, listen, trying to handle. We got to
Listen,
handle this. You know what I'm saying?
Salah now got all the prelim work done to be a superstar coach somewhere else, like Pete Carroll. That's what's going to happen. And I wish him well. I just hope it's not in our division. I hope it's in the NFC. Now, the thing about him, Salah and Douglas, and the sabotage and all of that, think back. Think back to 2021 and 22. Okay. When they had the guy from Green Bay, uh, the brother, as the offensive coordinator. What the hell's his name? The head coach for
Oh, LaFleur.
the floor. Now, the only problem with the Jets that year was Zach Wilson. Think back at how good it felt with that soaring defense. Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson. You had all this good stuff going on. You just had a kid that didn't know what to do. So
Mm.
they were right there, if I say so. And like you say, Woody Johnson was nowhere to be found. So they had it in the beginning, right? Except for the fucking quarterback.
And that's the
And
end of the
and
story.
And you couldn't hide that. So ultimately, when he comes back to get Aaron Rodgers, that's the mistake. It's like, no, you needed to get a young quarterback that was good, but wasn't the main thing. It became the Aaron Rodgers show. And you know that's a fail. That's not going to work. All you needed was a credible quarterback, which, by the way, he really wasn't for most of this year. You know, he doesn't move the way he used to move. He can't. He's 41. He had a bad Achilles. That guy used to run around, jump up like Favre used to do, throw the ball. That's not what you're getting. You needed a young guy like Justin Fields to do that. A guy like that, who was the same bust as, Zach Wilson on the Jets was for Chicago when he went to Pittsburgh, right? He still didn't play. It was Russell Wilson's team. But that kid, Justin Fields, on the Jets would have been better and they would have won more games. They would have got to 10 wins,
Well,
I think.
if
Because the
everybody
kid was
remembers,
good.
yeah. But if
So
everybody, the Jets fans, used to get me frustrated, Jets fans. Oh, they're not teaching Zach Wilson enough. They're not giving him, not giving him the
easy.
tools, on and on and on. But every time another quarterback, those 2, 3 years back, every time another quarterback came in, like Mike White and that other quarterback, I think his last name was Johnson. Every time another quarterback came in, they lit it up
Yeah,
with the offense. They moved the ball. Even that third stringer, the one who they when Wilson was doing a horrible game against Jacksonville on Monday Night Football, he
yeah,
couldn't do
yeah.
anything. And they bring in the third stringer, and they actually almost pulled it out. I mean,
The hell is his
listen,
name? Troy, I don't know. Yeah. But you're right. Schreiber, I don't know that. Okay.
anybody listening to this will know the name except us.
Um I want to say like
Ooh,
Swirl something or other. That's like,
a
I don't know.
swirly.
Yeah. He was he was like a guy off the street and he was better. But
Came in. He
kid was
almost
horrible and he was not trainable, and he's still not. He's a bench warmer. He's nothing. But you see, that was my problem then. I said it right then. We said it. If you're going to pick number two, a quarterback, he better be like Jaden Daniels, right? Look at that kid. He's gotten better as the year went on, right? He came in good. He ended the year like a superstar. Joe Burrow was good. You can't pick very high and develop the quarterback. You do that with, a second round or a late round, like this guy they got from FSU, if they keep him that got hurt. You develop those guys or whatever. But you bringing a guy in that high, he's got to be ready to play. It's just the way it is in the NFL. And if they struggle one year, that's okay if you see progress. With him, you never saw anything. It stayed the same or got worse. And they didn't do anything. That's the problem. He didn't react right, the proper way, in the proper way, because they they were forcing themselves to believe that this kid would finally it would click. It never did.
And what do we keep saying about in the first year with him, seeing him in the second year, we kept saying, what? If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and swims like a duck, it's an effing duck.
Right.
All
And
right.
and his
So
attitude, and his attitude was horrible.
really the final straw to me that Douglas blew it in the third year when I got Aaron Rodgers and they said this kid was like a project. I mean, why was he the backup? Why didn't they get a guy like Tyrod Taylor that
Right.
year when the first year of Rodgers to be the backup, and we would have seen, you don't know,
But these are
because
the
you
sins.
like
These are
it
the
almost
sins that
I
are
don't even
not
know.
forgivable. You can't forgive these
Right.
sins. It's like
It's like
you
sins of
could
your
you could
father.
forgive him for like, they would have had Jerry Judy and Bryce Huff if Woody's sons didn't get in the way and say Jerry Judy was no good because they were looking at Madden. Whatever that story was, if it's true or not. But he got his hands in it, really destroyed it when Rodgers came to town. So when Woody came around, Rodgers came in. It might as well have been Tebow again. Just a story. It's nothing. It's ridiculous. But they started out well, JD and Solid, because you're right. It was with Chris. Now, Woody, in the end, Woody was doing the right things to try and get them on track with Rodgers, but then he sabotaged the rest of the way they were trying to do better with, these other picks, these other moves that he didn't. So you cannot say they deserve to stay. You just didn't. They didn't deserve to get killed when they did during so early in the season. If you were going to whack them out, do it before the season and do a search and get a guy in. That's the way I don't never understood that part, but they're in
Well,
the
I think,
playoffs,
listen, I think,
you know,
listen, to your point, toward the end, like I said, Douglas's only problem, I was saying, was quarterback. Well, toward the end, look at all the Jet players that we were seeing on playoff teams. That guy Cashman, destroying people. Louisville was just an
how
absolute
about Ty
terror.
Johnson on the Bills every week? That guy, the running
I
back, he's a
mean,
star.
and then you talk about the one on Denver. What's his name? You said
Franklin Myers, John Franklin
yeah.
Myers.
I mean, look at these guys, and again, by the way, look at Denver with Bo Nix, who looks like he might be a really good quarterback. So what happens when you
Exactly.
get a young guy
Rookie.
who,
There you go. Right. That's my point. You cannot tell me, God, like you said, you got to develop them. Bullshit. You are a top pick. You have to be NFL ready. Troy, whatever his name was on the Niners, wasn't ready. What'd they do? Goodbye. Didn't work out. They got a guy who was Mr. Irrelevant. Somehow, some way it worked out. But look at them this year. McCaffrey didn't play. They fell off the planet. So nothing's guaranteed. But one thing is for sure, you have to be able to react. And the GM did not know what to do when he needed to do it in the most important moment. That is his sin, Douglas. He couldn't figure it out. And Salah, you know, all he did was continue to try to, stick with his plan and keep these guys going. And I don't think he lost them. I think the defense was still fine when they were 2-3, for God's sakes. And then this other guy comes in, and then the defense fell apart. So it was solid defense, period. Now listen, I can say one thing. Aaron Glenn. One thing I haven't said a word about him yet. I love that he's there. Okay. The main reason that I love that he's there, not so much that he's there 30 years. He came in what, 94? Played what, 7 or 8 years with them. Then, you had uh, he came in as a coach to start his career in the coaching. He said he wanted to be there. This is it. This is the place I want to be. All of that is great, but there's only one thing to me that I'm really, really didn't know that I'm really, really happy and surprised about. He's a Bill Parcells guy. Now, who else was a Bill Parcells guy? Mike Tannenbaum. Mike Tannenbaum brought him Curtis Martin. Remember, he was the capologist and he figured out a way to get them there. He got Favre in town there. So he came up under Parcells, right? Tannenbaum. So
right.
the Parcells connection means I'm not going to take your crap, like you just said. You can keep talking to me. I'm not going to change my answer. That's it. He's a strong man, and that's it. Now, he also knows what it takes to be a winner. He hasn't won anything yet, but they're a winning team. They're a winning organization. And when he left the Jets, I think they did some good things. He was with Peyton, Sean Payton there. So, the guy, I think when you look at him, being that he's a Parcells guy, he is not gonna, he thinks he's the best coach of all time. That's what he says. So
Yep.
his approach is going to be like that. What did Parcells do to Lawrence Taylor? Remember when he thought towards the end of the year he was getting a little slow? He put a gas tank in his locker. It's like, what are you running out of gas? He knew how to motivate, push buttons. I think that's what you're going to get with Aaron Glenn. And that's what I love. Because to me, he has to take his approach to solidify three guys: Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. You have two pathways you could go. You blow it up and you get new people in, or you take this core and you nurture it and make it feel like it's going to develop into a championship program and where they should be. And I think this guy's going to do that. I think he's going to take these guys under his wing. They don't know what he's like yet. And he's not going to be all philosophical. He's going to be, this is what we're going to do. Let's go. Not as so far as a Rex Ryan way, more cerebral like Parcells would. Not that Parcells was some genius, but he was innovative in his time. That's all I'm saying. And
Well,
you know,
it's
that's
yeah.
important to me is that you have
Well,
to start.
yeah.
Then if they sign these guys, longer term. You got the GM there. He's going to go to the GM and say, yeah, let's keep these two, three, four, five guys. You don't need the old line guys. You're going to start over anyway. You have two guys on the old line, maybe three. The defensive line, you got young guys there, but you're going to have to fill in at linebacker now. They know what they need, but there's enough core guys on both sides of the ball that this is not a team that should go 5 wins again next year. They shouldn't have gone 5 wins this year.
Yeah, well,
Without a
listen,
quarterback, you're
you
not
don't
going
want to,
anywhere.
yeah, you don't want to go 5 wins, and I keep bringing up the quarterback thing, but I'm interested to see also. I feel like Garrett Wilson, Brees, and Sauce gone. Three years of their life has been a waste. Has been really taken out from under them, and I think they are frustrated. Garrett Wilson said things that out of frustration. So I kind of think if anybody could talk to those guys and keep everybody together and get everybody together. It is Glenn. What I like about it, like I said, at least he came from learning the Parcells. Even like he said, Sean Payton, he learned how to sustainable winning. And I love the thing that he said. Like I know, remember Rex came on board. He was very like talking about the Jets, but I like that Aaron Glenn. Almost like kind of the Mets mantra, though. Yeah, we're the friggin' Jets, man. Just not all gas, no brake mantra like that. Just saying, hey man, what a Jets, and admitting that I had 4 or 5 interviews, but this is a job I wanted.
This is the
And
one.
when
I
I
didn't
went
want to leave the building. I wanted this job.
to that second
He meant
interview,
it. Yeah. So
so the guy, listen, it's a great core. To me, you got to keep it together. I
I don't
don't
know
know.
much
You
about
gotta
the
keep,
GM. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know much about him. I know he did well in his career before Denver, you know, but
he's had a lot of. Listen, he's grown into the job. He's had a lot of success. And he did some very good things in Denver. So
yeah.
we'll see.
But let me ask
But
you this
listen,
then,
they're,
Vin.
they're
Right?
picking number 7, so we'll see. But here we are.
All right.
I'm still in my I guess a little you know unevenness with this team. It's been 7 decades,
Oh, yeah.
and we've heard it all before. Every time there's a new coach and GM, but
Let me ask you a
I
question though about quarterback. Okay. You're right.
mm,
They need to get somebody for the future. Again, chef of the future, right? But let me ask you a question. If you look to see who's around and maybe available, the short-term deal, it's again Justin Fields. I don't know how they, you know, spring him. Sam Darnold, right? Maybe Russell Wilson, who I think goes to Vegas anyway with Pete Carroll. Or you know who? Jameis Winston. I think that's the guy. I know he has a lot of mistakes in his repertoire, but he's able to move and he could throw the ball. And I'm thinking if they could somehow get him, I think he's a free agent. That's who you need while you're developing another quarterback. And you have Tyrod Taylor too, but he's 100 though, But
Well, the thing about it's funny, Jim. There's always something about Winston that I liked, and he's a great. He gets the team motivated and pumped up, and he does great things. He
he
went.
could throw the ball. Yeah.
He starts doing really good things, and with him, then it just
He missed the
somehow
pick.
and then it's not sustainable with him. But
He throws
he's
too many
thrown.
picks, that's it.
He's thrown in his career over 4,000 yards. He's had stats. So that would be an
Like one
interesting
year he had
pick.
like 39 touchdowns and 35 picks or some shit.
Yeah,
Like,
right. It
what
was.
the hell is that? It's like, you talk about, a guy like that, but can you fix a guy like that? Sam Darnold. I don't know
Oh
if he's
no,
good.
please,
I don't think
please.
so. He's too slow, man.
Dude, I said it. I said it all
Too
season.
exposed.
He
Yeah.
Anytime he played against a really good team, he would do okay. And then when push came to shove, when he was needed the most in the playoffs, please, even that last game of the season, he's he's
Well,
surrounded by extremely talented Viking team. There's an immense amount of talent, and
but
uh, and even with
get it.
all that, he couldn't get him close to the promise. Not even close.
Yeah, what he did
Uh,
was he played himself right out of a long-term contract somewhere. Those when
oh
it
my
when it
God.
mattered most, you're right. He fell on his face. You can't get sacked 9 times. Come on, dude. You throw the ball away. You can't get sacked 9 times. Ridiculous.
Even that last game of the season, they were inside the 10-yard line like 6 times.
Yeah.
And I think they came away with like, you know, maybe 6 points, maybe 10 altogether.
Yeah, I don't want him. I'm good with him. So it's really, to me, either Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor, Jameis Winston. That's the three, I think, that if you could bring in, you know, and develop the kid from college and maybe draft somebody. But if you have Garrett Wilson and you have Brees Hall and the rookies from last year, you can't, you got to bring in, at least for this next year, someone that's been around. Not Aaron Rodgers. Oh, he's the best ever. Yeah, he's got 500 now. Great. Go retire, you know. But I want someone who could move. You know, I want someone like Justin Fields can move, Winston can move, Tyrod Taylor can move, and so could who's the other guy I said? Um, um, that's it. Those three. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, what else is there to say?
Listen, and the story is this. I always felt like Detroit and the Jets were kind of in the same plane. I also felt 4 years ago the Jets were a little bit ahead of them, but they were in the same plane. But I will say this, as much as you talk about Detroit, the Lions and how good, this, that, the other thing, got Campbell, yeah, I get it. But what does he have? I know Goff blew the last game because they were getting so beat bad on defense because they had all the injuries. He was chucking it a little bit too much and making mistakes. But Goff became a very good, effective, I'm not saying elite quarterback, but he became a very good to excellent quarterback. You know what? If Campbell and that regime didn't have a good quarterback, we're not going to be talking about them.
You know what,
So
Vin? You're making a
it's
great
going to
point
come
because
down,
every once in a while you get
coming
out
down.
coached. You know, sometimes you get out coached and you're not prepared the right way. It doesn't mean that quarterback all of a sudden sucks. It means that they came up with a defensive scheme to shut him down on that one day that mattered most. Sometimes that happens. So there's nothing wrong with Goff. It's just the way it worked out, you know?
Oh, he just had a bad
So
game. But listen, last year, if that crazy coach didn't try to go on every friggin' fourth down and would have kicked field goals,
they would have
they
won.
easily beat San Francisco and go to the Super Bowl. And
Yeah.
I think they're going to beat Kansas City. But I'm just saying, but cause and effect. They have a very good quarterback.
Yeah,
That's what it's
Jameis
going
Winston's
to come
31. He's got 24,000 yards, 154 touchdowns. You know, he's got a lot of picks, though, I think. Let me see. You know, I mean, I keep saying that, not like oh, it's not a big thing to, say maybe a guy like him. But I think you need a guy with a little experience and just say goodbye to Aaron Rodgers. Just that's it. You can't keep doing this, you know? You can't. I just don't want it anymore. Yeah, so he's got, um, the hell is it? Touchdowns 150, interceptions 111. You know,
No,
so
but you got to look. With Goff, you got to look at the last 3 years.
no. I'm
He
talking about
out.
Winston,
Oh,
James Winston.
Winston.
He's got 154 touchdowns and 111 picks since 2015. So he's 10 years in, but he hasn't been a starter really since 2019. So he hasn't really started in 4 or 5 years. But that one year he had friggin' 33 touchdowns and 30 picks, 2019. So something that he was doing wrong, he was also doing right, you know? So I don't know. Is that a guy that you take a flyer on? You know, I don't know.
Well, Jets 55, this is what it's going to come down to. I think we got a good coach. I think we got a good general manager. Like I said about Woody, a broken clock. It's right twice a day, man.
Remember one
So
thing about remember one thing about Woody before we sign off, right? The ambassador, right? The ambassador. He wanted to be called the ambassador. He's not getting through a 55 from us unscathed because big deal. You know what he did? He for once stayed out and let Mike Tannenbaum do his job and Spielman. They hired this 33 team, the consultant to come in and pick the right guy for the right time. So Mike Tannenbaum picked him, Aaron Glenn, you know? So, the ambassador, by the way, he wasn't even picked this time around. He's sitting home. It's like, so you couldn't even do that easy job right.
take
He is the
take a look at
absolute
the
worst.
take a look at the press conference introducing Aaron Glenn and the
Yeah,
GM, and
yeah, you got
they
to look at that. Yeah.
Woody starts it off. The thing was 24 minutes. and Woody spoke for, I muted it. I just looked at him. He spoke for 4 minutes.
Yeah,
I
that's what
was,
he did
I
in
was
the
gonna,
locker room when Aaron Rodgers was going to give the game ball to what's his name? Um, that was Garrett Wilson. He was going to give him the ball, remember? And do you remember that? Like, what was that story? And then the kid took the ball, his son, and then Woody Johnson had the ball, and instead he talked it up and gave the game ball to that guy. Remember that story?
no, I missed what I missed that.
I think it was the end of the year, or one of the games where he was about Aaron Rodgers was giving a game ball to who was it? Jesus, I don't know. But I think he was giving it to Olbrich or something for maybe winning his first game. I don't know. But the kid grabbed the ball out of his hands and gave another ball to somebody, to Garrett Wilson, who had a great game. And then Woody took the ball and gave the game ball to the guy that Aaron Rodgers was going to give it to. And he's like, okay, that's it. So he'll just take the moment and steal it. And that's all it's about. It's not about any semblance of what you're supposed to do in any
Well, for 4 minutes, I
reality.
have no idea. I had no idea what he said. And then after he walked off the podium, I said, okay, I could put the sound back on. But like I said, someone you throw enough of darts at a dartboard, you might hit the right one. He might hit the right one with these guys. But I'm real curious what the QB. I keep saying it. It's what it's going to come down to. Let's see what the QB is. Let's see what the situation is. Winston is an interesting. Well, that's an interesting one.
Well,
So
I don't know. I like that he's only 31. He's not over the hill yet. And I just think you got to figure something out. You got to come up with something different. You know, um, uh, let's see.
well, here we go. Jets 55.
During
We're
a
getting
game, Aaron
ready.
Rodgers walked into
I'm
the
trying to
locker
get a
room.
pulse again. What's
Yeah.
that?
He says, yeah, during a game, Rodgers walked into the locker room with a game ball to give to Jeff Ulbrich, who had just won his first game, NFL game. Before Rodgers could give the ball to Ulbrich, Brick, his son, right, took another game ball and gave it to wide receiver, like I said, Garrett Wilson. Johnson then gave the ball Rodgers had been holding to Ulbrich. Rodgers joked about being released by a teenager, which would be a first for him. You know, like that's what the so he was going to do something nice, give it to his coach. Heck, so his Woody and his son, and they got no. He takes the one ball, gives it to Garrett Wilson. Was like they're just doing what they wanted. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Sound like somebody else we know. Hey, blah, blah. But
Yeah.
anyway, look, it's a
All
mess.
right.
But Chris, to your point, when we started this early on, did a good job. He assembled a good team. And if you just think back to 2022, look at what's his name, Becton. He's in a Super Bowl as a right guard for the Eagles.
I will
All right.
not
How about
always,
that? Mikael Becton sucks. He's terrible. Yeah, he's in the Super Bowl as a right guard. So,
excuse
so
me, who said,
yeah, he's
constantly
doing
said, I said his knees, his ankles, you look at his legs, you look at his size, he's not going to make it as a left tackle. And I kept saying, God, 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 put him at God. And that's me.
it should have
And
been right guard. That's the
what do I
point. It's like he's a right guard. He's done well.
Yeah.
And, Joe Douglas drafted him that was his first draft to be the blind side guy. Didn't work out. But instead of figuring it out, they just got rid of him. Nothing.
You had a monster of a man who at God, and they showed clips of him just destroying people. I kept saying, just put him in at guard and just have him stand there. He would be effective.
Yeah, so
But
he's
what do
in the
I
Super
know?
Bowl now.
What do I know? I'm the old bearded man. 7 decades off friends at Jets 55. Let's go, man. I'm gonna get back on a positive
Yeah.
note. Try to get back in the
Well,
groove. It's just been
you
tough.
can't you look at
It's tough.
Becton, the guy's 25 years old. He's got his whole good for him. So do we. You got young guys on this team that the core of the team is young and good. You got some good running backs. You have three good running backs. You have, a great receiver. Devontae Adams, and these other guys, I don't care. He could go. I know he's great and all of that, but he's only great with Aaron Rodgers. So go ahead. You could go with him. If they keep Aaron Rodgers, I think it's a mistake because it's always going to be about Aaron Rodgers. And at some point, there's going to be a clash. And
Only thing you can hope that if somehow they find a reason to go with him, I think it will be different on Aaron Glenn. It would be absolutely different. So that's what you can hope for. But let's see, Jets 55, man, hang in there.
we got it.
Um,
We got it.
to the young
Yeah,
Jets fans,
it's good
good
that we
luck.
came. It's good that we came back, came out of the woodwork for one. It's like, but there was nothing there to talk about because it's everything we could have just put like a tape recorder from like 20 years ago, like in those days, whatever the popular type tape recorder was, and recorded you and me talking, and it'd be the same conversation. So it'd be like, here you go, Jets 55. It's a tape recorder from 1986. Let's listen to that, what Vinny and Phil was saying. Same shit. So there's
They,
no point in us sitting there talking about it during the season as it's falling apart. This guy, what did he do? You got to score points and you got to play defense and you have to have a plan. And they just don't. And,
well,
it's the way it is. So
you know
I,
what?
I think Aaron Glenn,
7 decades in, and
let's
hitting
not forget one thing though.
we're hitting the restart button, buddy.
He, what?
We're hitting the restart button. 7 decades
Oh, I
in.
thought you said I got hit the music. The only thing about Aaron Glenn though is he was the fake spike guy, which wasn't good, but couldn't let that go. But you know what? He had a good career with them. He did.
I was right there in that end zone for that beautiful
Yeah, that was
play.
great. That was enjoyable. You and me looking at that, Boomer Esiason throwing the ball, throwing the ball. It's like run the ball. That was
Uh,
Pete Carroll. The one year,
yeah, well,
yeah,
and
they
that
beat they
was
beat the Dolphins. They're in first place because they beat them once. They would have the same record. Instead, 2 games out, didn't win another game, and that was
couldn't do with an 18-point lead. There you
to
go.
the good life. Yeah,
All right.
Here we are. All right, buddy. Good to be back.
All right, people out there. JETS. It's
Yeah,
hard to
right.
say. It's hard to say, man. I can't finish it.
You
I
got it.
can't finish it.
No, no,
But
no. They have to earn it now. You got to earn it, man.
all
All right,
right.
cool. Good deal.
Togetherness. Peace.
Peace, man.
Out.